All right, great week, everybody. Hello and welcome. Katya, your hair is adorable. I love it. It's so cute. Okay, so let's start. We're gonna have demos today, of course, and then Andrew's gonna run a really cool retro for us today. And then we'll talk about the issues that are coming up next and maybe take a sneak peek ahead just in case we pull something else in for the week. And so let's get started. Alejandro, do you think you want somebody to help share or anything today, or are you okay?
I'm okay. I finally push my pull request and merge with the main. I'm happy.
Okay, sweet. So who would like to go first for demo today?
Megan, do the thing.
Okay, I took this on because this was a lot of my learning, thanks to Katya. So I'll see if I can pull it off by explaining.
Nice.
So we're gonna divide up our issues and try to work it out. So I'll share my screen. So one of our issues was to fetch the API endpoints to be able to display the icons. And so at first we had used a use effect hook to do the API pull, but then went back with suggestions using context API, which was brand new to me. And I will say the tutorials for that are kind of all over the place. Seems like there's still a lot of class-based tutorials for using components in class and context. So the hooks was kind of interesting with that. But yeah, so we took our search results and then created a custom context for that so that we could send data up to the main part of the app so that all the components can use it. And here is our search results, just kind of refactoring the use effect to pull out the search results for the context. And then we, another thing was creating a custom hook for the fetch API. So refactoring the fetching component to work with as a hook that can be brought in elsewhere. And then, and then adding all of this to the app.js so that our search results context can be passed down to all the components. And then we have this beautiful and lovely animated, thanks to Katya, icons coming up. And if there's not anything else, I'll pass it to Katya to talk about the display pins.
Well, I'll just second what you said about tutorials. Like, things are all over the place and you'll bump into something from, 2 years ago that is just really out of, with technology, it's really out of date, and it can be like, I don't want to do it that way. What? It's always like you want to try to find the way that you're trying to do something. And
the tutorials were also simple too, like which made it a little harder to understand, like the a little more complexity of what we were doing, and they were all using the same example, like changing from dark to light.
Oh yeah,
CSS, which I thought was kind of funny.
That is funny. Yeah, you're always looking for like this really complicated example of something in the documentation somewhere, and it's always, look, here's how you set counter to go up one level.
Okay, after we successfully received our search results, we needed to place them on a map, and to that end, our retrieved data got passed to the map component, we got access to it through the use context hook. We destructured our search results out, and here we also created an element of state to track if our map has been loaded. If yes, and if our search results exist, we loop over our search results, and for each we create a pin. We created a React component for that. The benefit of this approach is that it allowed us to fully customize the pins. For example, to add images like it was required by the acceptance criteria. We needed to add triangles at the top plus animation so that on the page load, the pins would fly onto the map. And in our case, that was achieved with the help of CSS. So if you could see it here. So we defined, basically we turned each static pin element into bouncing animation using keyframes. We defined a set of keyframes and we named it bounce, and then we applied it to our pin. So if you can see it here, we have a class called bounce. There was another approach to render pins on the map, and it was the technique that we used initially. I can show you here. So basically, in the handler in the handle API loaded handler, what we initially did, we created an image object and then we passed it into the new maps marker function call. The downside of that approach was that it didn't allow to customize our pins at all, no matter what. Yes, we managed to create to add images, but then and add animation, but then that triangle thing, it was impossible to edit no matter what things we tried. So yeah, that was actually the most challenging bit of working on this pull request, and I think it took us several days to figure this out. But yeah, that's how we managed to render pins on our map.
And you just created a cute little SVG for the carrot, right?
Yes. Well, it's not me. We just took it like a free online. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Neat. Very clever.
There's one thing I saw in the use fetch hook. Like, great job anyway on the demo. I love how it's working and all those things. There's one thing I thought would be worth a little discussion, and it's just it's like you wouldn't necessarily think that it would be something worth discussing, but I'm gonna share my screen so you can see what I'm talking about. Right here. That's possibly great. It's also maybe worth talking about. So there are, when you have a function that needs to be able to do something and there's like kind of required data, like what do you do with that? In this case, it looks like what you're trying to do is sort of return gracefully, not blow up the app and that kind of thing, right? Which I think is totally like defensible approach. Another approach, the other kind of extreme approach would be here to throw an error, to literally like say like, wait, like the program's not functioning as it should. So, and what that would do is if somebody were trying to call this without the URL being present, it would alert as a programmer, it would alert them that, oh, whoops, I'm missing a parameter, like I'm not passing in the data that this thing needs. Whereas if you didn't throw, then they might not do anything and they might just think, oh, maybe there's not results there or something, you know. So maybe there's, you know, be harder to figure out where in the stack the problem was happening. So I don't know if Lauren, if you have any any thoughts about that, but I just thought it was worth talking about.
Initially, at first, when we didn't have a custom hook, this was just a check to see if LED and LNG existed. If they didn't, we would do an early return. That's how it was initially done.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we started refactoring, we did this URL check.
Mm-hmm.
So Andrew, you're kind of thinking
that?
along like a TypeScript-y sort of approach, right? So that it would really jump out at you as a developer, like, oops.
Yeah, it is the kind of thing that TypeScript kind of enforces, but yeah, it's just sort of like this. What I would call this defensive programming, which is actually, like I said, in some cases is really smart. It's actually how like CSS works. You know, if you put it in a property that the browser doesn't understand, it just ignores it. You know, so for the most part, people still have a good experience. But yeah, the other idea here could be to, let the person who's working with the hook know that they're not passing in all the data that's needed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something to consider. And we could, I don't know, we don't have to change it at all. I mean, it totally works, but if that was something you wanted to try, we could make put an issue on the board or something.
There is never an end to refactoring.
Yeah, oh, for sure, 100%. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Love it. It looks really, really great.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, yeah, overall for everyone, the code is just so tidy. It's very easy to read. Like, it's really clear what everything is doing. Things are named really well. I'm really impressed. All right. Alejandro.
Okay, I share my screen. Well, this week we work with Jessica, task 10. We work with the render ADIS for the Nervi API, and the result is this. We render all the locations for the map, the center map, and we display for the image or the default image. When we don't have some image, the name, the description, and we add the icon. It's a link for we want more information with this location, and it's open a new no open a new tab, because yesterday we talked about with this. It's not a good way to accessibility issues, and I prefer not open other tab and only the same tab. And how I would like to share two ways. First, before get the real data, and after the real data. The first we create for the picture. It's a technique for the programming with the hard coding the results. We receive it, the center map, the latitude and longitude, and return the data for this parameter. We copy the results in a JSON files for the API, and we create the custom hook, use location, and receive for the same, the latitude and longitude, work, process the response, get locations. It's a helper we created, the set location and set the state. It's before approach the merge and the current code. It is we work especially in this component. We use the context created by Katia Mega. I process with the locations. I created two functions, the locations and sort, because we need to sort all locations. In the pull request, Andrew suggests we can improve for these lines. Maybe we can create a new task for the refactor. I prefer not changing this now because I received your approve and I prefer the next in the future. Next, I saw the location when you return locations. I try to return, and it's other improvement we can because I read the article, Andrews, and there is a not good way for order because it's a problem for the infinite number, and I maintain for the component. I checked its not location is empty. I display the message. I render all the locations, and we create a new component. We rename it a location. Receive the object props location. I destruct for the location. I try to validate for the distance isn't defined, and the check for the thumbnail if have a image or not. I download the SVG or the default. It's the image this and try to improve for the link for the accessibility. I add the area label property and that's all. And we work with Jessica and I'm happy with our work. Thank you.
Nice job. It's like a little thing, but I really love that you had your font size kind of bumped up so that it was like easy to see on a smaller screen. That's a really nice way to demo. And really good work. Yeah, really good work responding to the feedback and everything. And yeah, there were a couple of issues. Again, like the refactoring is never done, right? Like we can make a couple of issues if we want to try to harden things. In this case, the sorting that you're doing is very, very unlikely to cause any problems because we kind of know, we're not going to have an infinite distance return from the API, right? Like there's sort of a maximum of 29,000 miles or whatever, however big the Earth is. So, but yeah, it's always good to make sure those things are just a little hardened, just in case it's, like it potentially would be a security hole, I guess. But yeah, really great work. I love the look of the little cards and stuff too.
Yeah, it looks really nice. Really nice demos, everyone, too. Like, I love how you walked through everything.
Yeah, great job. Can I take a minute to just look at the control chart?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, don't forget the control chart.
Yeah, okay, thanks. So we have a little more data now, so it should be a little more interesting. Let's, we'll just look at the last 2 weeks and make sure we're looking at the right stuff. So we don't really count selected for development because it's just sitting there waiting to be started. So the states that we're really interested in are these in progress and ready for review states. I guess I'm not sure why. Should the first 2 weeks should kind of go take us all the way back to there. Maybe this is just when things end. So we can see we're starting to have a little more variation in how long it takes to get certain things done. So there are 2 issues here. Let's see. Hopefully this works. I don't have to log in again. All right, I'm not sure what those 2 issues were. They were whatever this one wasn't. So rendering the table or list, that's looks like it took about 6 days, okay, so a little over 6 days to get done. These 2 were, about 5.3 days. Sorry, average time about 5 days. So, I mean, that kind of tracks, right? Like that's sort of the length of our increments, although we're not really thinking about it that way. But yeah, this 5-day, 3-hour average for all the issues. We got 6 issues done in the last 2 weeks. 5 days average time to get them through those in progress and ready for review to done. So is that okay with the team? Like, or do we want to try to bring that down by being a little more diligent about story splitting? Is there something we could do when we notice scope? Like, I actually made a card for this in the retro, but like, that little arrow, like, who knew that arrow was going to take days to do, right? So is that an opportunity to say, like, you know what, this arrow is actually pretty tricky to implement. Would it be good enough to not have the arrow, but just, have some other solution? We could have a discussion, like a product discussion at that point or something. So there are ways that we could try to bring this average down if we want to. If we're comfortable with it as a team, then it's fine. We can kind of continue as we're going. And again, this is like not super statistically valid because it's only 6 issues, but
how is it usually done in real teams?
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of discussion we'd be having. Like, if my one team that's been doing Kanban at Zapier, if we were at 5 days, we'd be like, oh, wait, we need to do something, whether it's faster reviews or it's more story splitting, smaller scope of the stories, all those kinds of things. We would be having a discussion about it because we as a team have agreed that 3 days is our goal. If we wanted 3 days to be our goal, we would need to split some of these stories down because they are just from having run this project a couple of times, I know that they're definitely more than that at the moment, but there are probably ways to split them.
It seems like this one might have been a little bit of an outlier too, because the other team kind of had to have us. I think they were waiting for us to have our stuff pushed through first.
Yeah, or there may have been a way for them to even push what they had, like split it into 2 issues, like ship the thing with the fixtures, even though it's not real data, and then have a second issue, another small issue that was to integrate with the context API or something. So that'd be another way to approach it.
Yep.
But like our current average fits into a week, so maybe we wait for the next time and see if we're trending in one direction or the other, and see if we need to make adjustments. Like, I don't see it as a problem at the moment, is I guess what I'm trying to say. Is everyone comfortable with that?
Oh, you're kind of frozen, Andrew. But yeah, I'll be really interested to see actually what happens this week, because I agree with you, Megan. Like, some of what Alejandro and Jessica needed was kind of stuck in your branch that had 2 tickets on that branch. And so, but yeah,
But
so we could have approached that in a couple of ways.
I think we actually submitted our pull request on Monday, ready for you.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and then so how long did it take to get reviews, and then how long did it take to respond to the feedback? I don't remember how long it took us to do the reviews or the other team and stuff. But those would be the other factors into the work is ready, but
I think because me and Megan, we met on Sunday and we did those 2 pull requests. We finished. The only thing that was lacking was adding that down, like that bottom caret thingy.
Mm-hmm.
But we still pushed it and we marked it as ready for review.
Mm-hmm. And did you get reviews right away, or did it take a couple days to get the reviews?
Megan, do you remember? Because I don't. Only if I have a look in the Slack, I don't know.
And I know I don't think I looked at it until at least Wednesday or Thursday, and I did have feedback that you needed to respond to, so that would have added a day or 2. So, but that implies that Jessica and Alejandro probably looked at it Monday and Tuesday.
I think Alejandro, yes, was very quick. I'm not sure if Jessica left anything? I don't remember.
Okay.
I think she slacked yesterday asking about important in the CSS file, but that was used initially to override Google Maps CSS styles, and then it was available.
Yeah, it was a good catch. So yeah, so I guess like it's I mean, it kind of goes to show like this happens all the time in a you know, professional teams too, where like it's ready, I need a code review, hey, like can people do this, you know, and that ends up kind of being almost sometimes the bulk of the time that it takes. So not unusual, and you know, it did sound like you had most of it done, and there was still like this other little issue of that arrow, that little arrow, like, who knew, that added a few days. And again, like this is not a problem because our cadence, like if every issue took 5 days, we would complete the project. You know, that's unless, you know, other things come up or whatever, right? So so it's not really a problem. I wouldn't say we're not desperately in need of trying to reduce our cycle times. And you know, everybody's doing their best with 5 hours a week. Yeah, 5 hours a week. I don't know how much time you all spent this week. It'd be interesting to know too. Sounds like more than 5 hours because that little arrow.
I'm sorry, I've actually remembered. So Alejandro did a review on Monday, and then he asked why not adding a context API. Lauren agreed, and then yes, we understood we actually had to implement this to leave the state up. But I think me and Megan were able to meet only on, was it Wednesday or Thursday? So that kind of delayed, I guess, PR review process, just because we had to deal with this context API.
Yeah. Which actually, I mean, so I would say like this is actually really good considering the fact that we're all doing this like totally part-time. You know, a 3-day turnaround on an issue makes sense if, you know, you're spending 8 hours a day on it, right? Like you have all the time in the world to kind of like work on it and do reviews and all those kinds of things. But if you're fitting it in around other things, yeah, it's going to take a little longer to kind of get to done. So I think this is actually, I think we're in good shape. This is pretty healthy. Cool. All right. We're doing a little mini retro there. So we'll actually, I should just keep sharing my screen, huh? So hide my cards from you. So Metro Retro is a tool that we use at Zapier on some of the teams, not all the teams. There are lots of tools you can use for retros, but one of my teams has started using it, and it's really nice. Like it's you know, it's built just for this purpose, and it is well designed for the most part. Has, you know, a couple little quirks, but most software does. So anyway, this time we are going to do a retro called you know, liked, learned, lacked, and longed for. So we have these 4 categories of cards. We will we'll go through, and I guess the instructions are up here. So everyone, does anyone need another minute or two to add cards? I think I saw cards from everybody on the board, but was there anybody who wasn't quite done? Are we all good? Okay, cool. So what we'll do is we'll take turns, and we're gonna reveal, like we will, there's this little thing down here, the sticky notes are private thing. If you click that, it makes yours public so everyone else can see them. So we'll take turns kind of going through cards. You can add reactions. So you can kind of do this thing where you click on that and you click on a card to add, you know, an emoji or whatever. You can, we'll do some voting afterwards. You can also make a comment on the different cards. You can also do confetti, which is a lot of fun. So anyway, so feel free, as people are talking, you can react to the things to kind of, you know, show, you know, that you're like, you agree or you disagree or whatever. Comments, reactions, confetti. And We'll give everybody a chance to kind of read through their cards, and then at the end we will talk about what actions we want to take out of that. So if we come away with 1 or 2 things that we want to just improve for the next the next 2 weeks, that'll be a great outcome. So let's see. I'm not super good at facilitating these because I don't usually we have someone else do it for us, but I think, let's see. I guess, I'm trying to think how, shoot. Do you know, Lauren, my cards are showing. Maybe I'll just go first and that kind of
Okay.
takes care of
Yeah,
that.
I was looking to see if there was like a present mode or something.
Yeah, that's a good sharing, export, user settings.
I don't think
Build
so.
mode, move tool, keyboard. All right, I guess I'll just go first.
Sure.
Is that all right with everybody? All right. So under liked, and what we'll do is each person will go through all 4 categories, so we can if you have things that are oh, that's sort of related to something else in a different category, you can talk about that. So yeah, so I feel like the app is coming along so well. The quality of the code's really high. Context API and all these different things, it's really clean. The naming of functions and variables is great. It's really, really high quality, and so I'm really, really pleased with that. I love how you all are writing bugs and issues and not feeling like you have to do one PR to satisfy one issue that was given to you by us, which is, I think, that's kind of something we look for. We have a growth framework at Zapier where, the first level is, you kind of basically do what you're told. And as you move up in our growth framework, you start to kind of see the issues and take more ownership over what how things are going. So I feel like the team is kind of doing that to some degree, which is great to see. You all have been giving great code reviews to each other and have been fast to respond to feedback that you're given. So that's been amazing. And then Lauren, it's been really fun to pair with you to run this project. You're so great, such a pro. So that's really fun. Let's see, I guess I'll do learned next. So a couple things I've learned. So one thing I've learned is just how capable you all are, and that companies should have already hired you. I don't know why why are you here? You should be on teams, professional teams. So we'll do what we can to make that happen really, really soon. And then that, this is just after from the demo, I added this card. Sometimes these innocuous seeming requirements turn into a lot of scope. You had to completely do a custom pin in implementation to meet that one little requirement. So, that's a good lesson. We can all, I don't know. I mean, we could consider changing that requirement for the next time, or just being more clear that, don't spend time on Google's sort of built-in thing, go straight to this other thing. But yeah, that might be an adjustment we can make. But that comes up a lot in the real world as well.
Andrew, how do I do reactions? I'm trying.
Oh, it's over here. So you click on this and.
So I have the confetti tool. Do I just need to click on something or?
Oh, the confetti tool, you pull down, you click and pull down.
Oh, okay. There we go. Whee. Okay.
There it is. There it is. All right.
Got it. Okay.
All right. All of a sudden, there's going to be a bunch of confetti. Okay, so
yeah.
So something that was lacking, I think the API stories could be split better. So they're kind of better defined. So next time, I think the next time we run this project, we'll try to break those 2 stories out so it's a little bit more clear how to parallelize that work. And then I think I longed for, is this? No, it's yours. Okay. So I think we might be able to make things simpler for ourselves if we always just kind of have a policy within the team of always branching off of main. And that might imply we have to serialize certain things or but I think it's in general, it's a pretty good practice. I don't know, Lauren, what your experience is with branching off of branches, but it can get it can get confusing because then you have to remember that there's these dependencies and how you merge and all that kind of stuff. And if you're always branching off main, it kind of forces you to think in terms a little bit more of like isolated pieces of work. You know, like creating a little thing that has an interface to other things. So then when you put them all back together, they all kind of work together, if you know what I mean. But you might not agree with that, Lauren, based on your experience. I don't know.
It kind of depends. It depends on the situation. I do branch off of branches quite a bit if I'm working on something that depends on something else. But I'm open to both approaches too.
Well, we can maybe talk about it if it gets voted up. Yeah, there's got to be some presenter mode here, because I know when Dan at Zapier, when he presents these things, it's like because it's like way to focus in on people's cards and stuff.
Oh, okay.
There is like a thing at the top right that said sharing. I don't know if that is anything. Didn't want to click on it until I knew.
Yeah, okay, that's just the link.
Yeah.
I don't know what. Oh, maybe I'm not logged in as the same user. Maybe that's the problem. I don't know. Anyway, and then I have this bug actually where if you have too many characters, it doesn't show up on the screen. I think it's because Safari thing. But oh, and I should have done that. Sorry, my notes are public now. You can all see them on your own boards too. So maybe Alejandro, do you want to go next? So if you hit that little button down at the bottom, they should reveal here. There we go. All right.
Okay. I like it. The pair programming with Katya and Jessica, because we support me, and we have passing with me, and also with you, our mentors. Also, I like the office hours because we talk about our tasks, give us the advice, talk about the jobs, and the learning modules, the Scrum, Kanban, and story splitting. I like learn about the story splitting because I never heard about it, and I like it. The review per request, if they have great comments, share the resource and tools by teammates, mentors.
Nice.
That's all.
And you want to keep going with
and the learn.
Yep.
I learn about the Google Maps with React, and I need more research about the little pins, about the pins in the map. I learn about the accessibility for links and the property I label and the tool and the browser extension. The JS optional chaining with defensive programming, and the picture technique. Also because I will know I didn't know about the like it. I need to improve my Jira knowledge. Also, I would like more detail about when and how to create our own threads about Jira task, because I am a little confused, because in the first week I remember we don't need to create task, and I hope I don't need. Also, it's a suggestion. It will be interesting. We can build the diagram of our stories by epic by every week. I think we can identify when there is a dependency with stories, And the match, other, it's the match between available and pair programming times, because it's difficult to know how can we work together. It's, I don't know, when the people available with ask question or work, and about the longest or board. eh, it's happened a better communication about what are pull requests and blocking. I think, especially this week, I think our pull request is blocking. It's blocking, and we can finish early. It's the next. Put already pull request ready for review earlier. I am. We have a delay for different time zones, improve our communications, and I would like to more time for pair programming. We sometimes we work divide the work, and I would like to share with Jessica more time this week. And that's it. Thank you.
Was this one yours? The adding AC about accessibility issues?
Ah, yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
I think it could be great add to the certain criteria more details about accessibility issues, because in the pull request I identify we don't consider about these topics, and I would like to add links or resource we can improve our code or app.
Okay. Yeah. Good idea. All right. Katya, do you want to go next? I think I'm going to have trouble seeing your.
Yes, sure.
Oh, there we go. Oh, good. They did show up. All right.
Okay, so one of the first things that I liked is getting to learn what Kanban is about and working on a project that has us following this new approach. I think it's really cool that we get to learn these processes, and in the next few weeks, I'm really excited for everything we get to learn about them. Also, I really love teaming up with Megan, Jessica, and Alejandro and seeing some cool enhancements being added to our project. Big ups to each of you. Also, really loved getting code reviews from Lauren and Andrew, and the chance to learn some sound practices and move away from bad habits. This is something that I really liked during my last TCL experience. So thank you for your awesomeness in teaching us the bits of things that need to be learned for building for the web, and how to structure or to better write code, how to avoid duplication or having anti-patterns in the code base. For me, and I think for everyone else, getting to learn about it is such a treat. So thank you very much to both of you for doing this. Learned. Okay, so oops, sorry. Just give me a sec, because yeah, I lost the screen. So this week I kept not learning my lesson and continued matching things I was not supposed to. Rookie mistake on my part, and I don't know, in real life I would probably have been fired for this. I had no bad intentions behind, and the takeaway has been not to merge things without getting them approved first. And also what I learned is I never wrote an offline first app, and I learned so much from Jessica and Megan last week. For example, how to install a PWA to a mobile device home screen, including how to change the app icon, the app name. I found it very interesting and fascinating. Okay, so elect. So Google React Map docs don't seem to say much about everything. Also, they have very out-of-date code examples, which make them irrelevant. These gave us some really hard time during the week. Jira, still in Jira. I'm still having difficulty finding my way around it. And big thank you to the mentors for helping us with this, not the easiest of interfaces, and teaching some of those dark arts of getting things done in Jira. And then what I looked for, some rest from CSS bugs. I'm battle worn from the last few days of solving them. And to be honest, this code refactoring process in general, it's like a quagmire. It sucks you in and you can literally be there for days. Although I understand that in every code base, there's tons of refactoring opportunity and you just need to continually push for improvements. I'm all for it, but it's just so time consuming.
Yep, for sure. All right, thanks for that. Megan, do you want to go next? You're muted.
I'm sorry. I really love connecting with my teammates. I think that's honestly my favorite part of Collab Lab is getting to meet people that I'd never met. Like I know that y'all did this in person early on, but this remote thing is super interesting to connect with people from everywhere. I really appreciate Jessica, Alejandra, and Katya's knowledge and help. Katya, thank you so much for being so patient, and you explain things so well. And I love reading comments from Alejandro's on our PR and stuff that we can improve. And again, on Katya, she made a diagram on context API, which honestly, I would publish that if you feel comfortable with that, but it's very good. It was like quick and easy to follow. So super great. What I've learned is, again, custom hooks and context API, those are new to me. Best practices too, like Alejandro and Katya specifically. There are a lot of things that we talked about when you were learning on your own aren't so common to you. So, you know, sometimes you do all this work and you push something and you as mentors are like, oh, you could do this. And you're like, oh, no, so I thought I was done. But it's really good to do, even if it can be frustrating because, you know, you want to be professional and do things in the best way possible. What I lacked, and this is more on me than anything else, I think we had talked about this a little bit in the original cohort that I worked on, kind of a prep for what to expect. And some of that is because for me, it had been, I guess, almost like a year from the first part of doing this. And I will be honest that I have not been practicing. So I feel almost like the last leg of this, like I'm not as knowledgeable as and in the code base as everyone else maybe. So sometimes it feels a little overwhelming, but that's just to light a fire under my butt that I have to practice every day. And something to long for. Everybody had great suggestions, and I didn't quite know how to word this, but maybe Alejandra mentioned it with the time differences. I know that we're on such varied times, so putting things in Slack and replies, I feel for me personally, if I put something out there, because I know sometimes I might be working late, especially compared to y'all, please don't feel like you have to reply. And I want to like respect boundaries and give people time to relax, because I know this can be a lot on top of your other work or anything else you're doing. So I'd love to hear or kind of develop strategies to not get burnout or feel like you have to like immediately reply to everything that's going on. I think that's it. But thank you all so much. Like, this has been awesome.
Great. And Laura, bring us home.
Yeah, let me share my thingies. Did I share? Oh, you know what? I think if you click my bubble, I wonder if that's what Dan does. Like if you click on the side, if you do that.
Oh, highlight posts. Yeah, look at that. All right, you're right.
Okay, have I shared mine yet? No, it's still private.
No,
okay.
There we go.
Oh, okay. These things that I'm saying are almost identical to what Andrew said. I think, and what everyone has been saying. Like the code review has been very, very, very excellent. Really thorough and so respectful. Like offering suggestions, but the tone of the code review is really great. I love it. Asking questions, which is a great way to review code. Like, feel free to ask questions if and when you're not understanding something. That's one of my favorite things to do in code review. So fantastic code review. And then the app looks really amazing. I'm just shocked at how, I mean, I'm not surprised by you all because you're amazing, but like at this point in the project, the end of the second week, everything looks gorgeous already. And Andrew, I didn't write this down, but yes, it's so great getting to work with Andrew. He and I are similar and different at the same time. So I learn a lot from you and the way that you mentor, and I think that our skills balance each other really nicely. So it's been pretty fun. Let's see. Oh yeah, I didn't really know much about progressive web apps. I haven't created one on purpose before. I love how easy it is to just install that on your phone. It's very cool. Haven't ever done that before. I work a lot with CSS Grid, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about CSS Grid over the past year, and then I forget that the gap property is now available for Flexbox. So that's awesome. That's something that I learned. Yeah, I think my lack and longed for are similar to everyone's. I think communication is going well. The time zones are challenging for communication for us. So, but like specifically as a mentor, it'd be great to feel more in the loop in terms of where you are in your process. Like, don't be afraid to ask more questions in Slack and just say, hey, we're working on this today, or that gives us a good sense of where you are and if we can jump in. And then it might be happening behind the scenes, but more out loud communication in Slack. I think what I was just saying, just like, hey, we're trying to put this together today. And I think that would help both teams feel more connected to one another. But again, it might be happening behind the scenes, but in the public channel is awesome. Yeah, and then I think the advanced project, you all are so good. Like the code is beautiful and the app looks amazing. I really feel like this is a great time to really think about the collaboration side of things. So I think in the first Collab Lab project that it's really easy to get focused on this is our pair is working on this ticket for the week. But now I think it's a great time to practice. This is what we're all working on. The work that I'm doing is influence, like they're so intertwined. Like we're building this product together as a team, and the work that both teams are doing are feeding into one another. How is the work that I'm doing impact the other team? Like I'm really going to think about writing this code so that it serves the whole team rather than just that ticket. And I think that we're part of the way there, but I think the advanced project is a great place to really focus on that and think about it.
Yep. Cool. I'm realizing we are almost at time, so I want to be respectful of that. Are people able to go over by a little bit? Because what I'd like to do is like find a couple of things out of here that we want to take action on, but then we also have to go over the issues for the coming week. So could we go 10 or 15 over? Is that okay for everybody? Alejandro, does that work for you?
Yes, it's okay.
Yeah.
For me.
Okay. And Lauren, if you need to drop, I could take us home. But
oh no, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Okay, cool. All right, good. So what I might ask us to do is just take a minute to group things. So I think if you wait, we need to how do you form groups? There's this grouping tool. So we can draw groups around different cards. So we could like move cards, and that can actually be, there might be themes that span the 4 different categories. So we can move those cards next to each other and then draw kind of a circle around them using this grouping tool. So if we can all just kind of crowdsource that a little bit, so where you see things that are similar, kind of put them all together. So I'm going to zoom out so I can see more, and this is all going to get a lot smaller for you for a minute while I do this.
Let's see. Can we move cards and group them, or only you can do that?
Oh, are you not able to move stuff?
I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Oh.
Oh.
I don't know what I did.
Oops. Ideas, that's a little vague. Let's see. What I actually want is, how do I get rid of a group?
Switch to build. Oops, no.
Things, yeah. I didn't mean for this to be a thing by itself. Ideas.
Can anyone else move anything? Oh, no, I got it. I can move something. Oh, no, because it's my own card. Oh, wait, no, I can move somebody else's. Okay. Maybe. Oops.
Oh,
Okay, that's good. Oops.
Well, that's the one big group.
Where did I undo that? Control and Command Z.
I think you can just select it and delete.
Oh, good.
Okay. It seemed like a lot of people were kind of voting as we went, which is cool because that saves us some time right now. So are we close to having our groupings grouped? If you're kind of waiting for other people to group stuff, you haven't voted on everything that you want to vote on, maybe add some votes as well. And then we will move on in a second. Okay, maybe is this maybe good enough for us to at least come up with a couple things?
Sure.
Okay, all right, so it's easy for y'all to see. And then moving around. Let's see, start new round. Really, I think, how do we move? Ah.
No.
I'm not very good at this. All right. I guess toggle links. All right, I clearly don't know quite what I'm doing with this tool. So anyway, we'll do this the old-fashioned way, manually. Actually need to, I know a couple people, there's a couple votes that happened, but what I want to do is get back to the previous voting round where we had votes. So if you added, there were 4 votes that were added in that second round. I didn't mean to add a second round. So if you remember, if you just voted on stuff, maybe go back through and add those votes really quick. Looks pretty clear that we should talk about communication and time zones though. So let's see. So responding to messages across different time zones, doing more stuff out loud in Slack, better communication about our PRs, what's blocking our PRs, putting PRs in ready to review earlier. So there's more time to kind of get through that cycle with the time zones, feeling more in the loop, match between pair programming times, so again, time zones. And there are some good things that we were doing too, right? So really good comments in the PRs and the reviews and stuff. So like some of that written stuff sounds like it's in pretty good shape. Maybe it could happen a little bit more in Slack as opposed to, I mean, I think the PRs is a good place to have some of that, like draft PRs. And clearly like when we're doing reviews, but is there a sort of a specific action or two that we could take out of this topic into the next 2 weeks? Anybody have any thoughts?
I just didn't understand how our pair ended up getting blamed for bringing the statistics down because we submitted our PR like on Sunday, ready for review.
Well, okay, so there's a couple things there. First of all, it's not blame. Like I don't blame you for that. Like it's just it took us as a team that long, right? Like we are working as a team. So there are, getting work from, starting to merged requires several steps and everybody on the team has to contribute. So yeah, you got that first PR like up and ready. So that was great. And then as a team, whatever happened, I mean, some of it's time zone stuff and like, all those things, like it took us 5 days to get to it. That's just objective fact. It's not a blame kind of situation at all. So you know, if we're comfortable with it, then there's no problem. If we feel like as a team we want to tighten that up, then we would need to look at the different pieces of all the things that happened and figure out where could we streamline it, right? So if, you know, if the PR was up initially, that's great. That sounds like it's an efficient part of the process. But if the PR was up and it wasn't like there was a lot of feedback that had to be addressed, then maybe it's not actually good to have a PR up really fast, right? So there are things that we could talk about in terms of all the steps of the process of where could we find actual efficiencies as a team. So yeah, no blame. It's all, you know, we're just trying to get stuff done here, and yeah. So
Or something
the
like that. Like,
Mhm,
would
mhm.
it be? I know that context was mentioned in the kind of acceptance criteria and in the reviews. Would that have been something that we could have broken off to refactor so that the data from the API was already ready to come in and go?
Yeah, I
Could we have
mean,
made like a new PR for that or something and made it a
mhm.
separate task?
Yeah. So actually, that's a really good point. So maybe because there's that, and there was the little arrow that took days, right? Which, like, you know, is probably not a crucial piece of the application. So there, to me, those things are similar in the fact that they are, and there were other suggested refactors and stuff. Those are things that are maybe not essential to shipping the PRs, that we could, as a team, say like, hey, that's a really good idea. It would make things simpler. Do we want to do that now? Do we want to invest in that now? Or do we want to kind of ship what we have, get the value kind of provided, and come back to it, you know? So, you know, I don't know that there's a clear answer to that, but we could decide as a team whether to do that or not. In this case, and I don't know if it's, you know, I don't know where it comes from, but like for whatever reason, we decided to do it as part of that PR. Like maybe you all felt like you had time to do it, so you might as well, or something. But I also want to think about protecting your time, keeping it to as close to 5 hours a week as we can as well. So I wouldn't want you to like, oh, we'll take on the scope because I think I can fit it in, but now I've worked 15 hours on TCL, right? Like that would not be my preferred outcome. Like, so maybe there's a, let's see, opportunity to recognize that. Does that resonate with people? I think that came up a couple of times this week, and it's not going to be the last time this comes up. Like just knowing how this project's gone the last couple of times, there are a couple of points where stuff like feels like it could go on for weeks if we wanted to, and that's very realistic. Do you agree with that, Lauren? Have you seen that in the past?
Yes. Absolutely.
Happens all the time. Okay, so that's really good. It doesn't really affect well, I guess making the decision as a team. Okay, so that's I'm making the link to the topic of communication here.
Mm-hmm.
And time zones, like it has implications for those things, but the communication part is like there's kind of two pieces. There is the ability to recognize that that's happening in the moment, because you're like, oh, context API, okay, it doesn't sound like it's that hard to implement or whatever, but you know, it's an unknown, right? Like you're learning it and whatever. So recognizing that that's happening, and then that's the communication part is like in the thread being like, hey, so there's been a suggestion we use the context API. The thing we have is working. We think it's going to take us another 2 days to get that done if we take it on. Are people okay with that? You know, kind of having that discussion in the open with the team. And then we as a team can say like, totally worth the investment, like it's going to pay off later, or maybe we don't need it right now. The app is working, right?
And also, to be completely honest, I didn't know that we were stalling the development process of Jessica and Alejandro. We had no idea.
Yeah, and I don't think you stalled it all that much. I mean, there was some refactoring they had to do once your stuff went in, but we also could have merged their stuff, and it just would have been showing fake data, and then we could have split that up. So that's another point where we could have had a discussion as a team about how do we want to approach this, you know. So they had some feedback they had to address too that I think took another day. So I don't think your stuff made them wait too long. Like they did manage to fit in integrating with the context API, but if they hadn't, we could have merged with what they had, shown fake data until they got around to integrating with it. So, yep. Does that feel like an action? Maybe that's a pretty, I don't know if you agree with this, Lauren, but that's almost kind of an advanced skill to me, just recognizing when that scope creep is happening.
Mhm.
It's I mean, I talk to my engineers at Zapier about this stuff all the time because sometimes it's really fun to learn about the context API and implement it for the first time, right? But as a team, like, what are we trying to do? We're trying to ship an app. And so sometimes it's not always the best decision to take on the scope unless we all kind of agree that it's a good investment at the time, right? Not that you didn't do anything wrong in doing that, but it's it's a worthwhile discussion to have. Just be like, check in, like, hey, we think this is a big improvement. Is everyone okay if we spend a little more time on it? And everyone would be like, sure, sounds good. Can't wait to see what you do, but just having, it's more of a team collaboration if we're having those discussions. So maybe, especially because we're already like 15 past the hour, we'll call that our one action for the next 2 weeks until we do another retro, and then we can check in and see how we did on it. But there are going to be, just knowing the upcoming issues, there will be opportunities to recognize that scope creep in the moment, and then we'll just try to have good, discussions about the trade-offs in the team channel. Is that cool? All right. Nice. So Lauren, you are up doing the issues, is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Share screen. So we've actually already, I feel like we talked about these a little bit last week. So the 2 issues that are next that I will move to selected for development are, now that we have the pins, the adorable pins on the map, now the next task is for the user to be able to tap on a pin, and it'll pop up either an info window or a modal or something that will have some more information. So as a user, I want to tap on map pins so that I can learn more about the place. The assumptions are that pins have been rendered to the map, which we have that. We will use info windows or a modal to display additional details for each place. It's a key interactive functionality for our app. It depends on the completion of TCL 20-11, which we have completed. Here is documentation from Google Maps on their info windows. This story shouldn't require coordination with the other team, is what it's saying. You need to think about that. So the user can tap on a pin on the map to open an info window with the following details about the place. It should have the name, the description, thumbnail image, if there is one for the place, rendered at the largest size possible within the info window. Distance of the place from the map center in kilometers, a link to view the place on Wikipedia. So similar to what, similar information that the list is rendering right now. Links out to the Wikipedia page should use the page ID property that is returned by the API in this format. So hopefully we can use the default built-in info window object, but if not, it's possible to build custom info windows, or we could use a modal. This may actually be preferable for accessibility reasons. I think EJ maybe had thought about this for that story.
Yeah. I'll just say something about that. Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Katya.
I have a question about the largest size possible.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Well, I think it's you within the constraints of the design, like you want the user to have, like, it's a tiny little thumbnail at first, so they want to see sort of as much of the image as they can, or as the image at the biggest size that they can.
Yeah.
That's the pin, yeah. But then when you hit the info window, or so I was going to say, like, the modal actually might be preferable because you could basically take over, you know, almost all of the window. In which case, you could have the, you know, that image should kind of go across the full width of the modal, and then you'd have, you know, the best view possible of the image. So yeah, so the idea, like, think about this in terms of like kind of the user experience. Like, you want them to see as much of the, or see the image at as big of a size as they can. But there are constraints, you know, within whatever the design is that you come up with.
Does that answer your question, Katya? Kind of. So a responsive image, essentially, right? That it should grow and yeah.
Actually, that's a really good point. So, you know, phones are different sizes too. So if someone has a small phone, the image isn't going to be as big, but if it's on a bigger phone, it should stretch to fill up that size, right?
All right, so given a user viewing the view of the map with the pins rendered, when the user taps on a pin, then an info window should open showing more details about the place. Given a user viewing an info window with more details, when they tap the close, there should be a close or an X icon that closes the info window, returning them to the same view that they had before they opened up that window. Should be supported on iOS and Android. Development for this issue can happen in browser, but final validation should take place on a real device using the preview deploy URL to ensure that the map and info windows behave as expected.
Were you all able to do that with the preview URLs, like actually kind of load it up on your phones this last time?
When I was testing them out, I was able to use the preview URLs. I guess I didn't try to download it.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, if you just like, if you go like in your phone's browser, go to GitHub, click on that preview URL, yeah, you should be able to kind of get a good idea if it works on the device. That's all that means.
Yeah.
Because sometimes these things can be a little finicky and they don't necessarily behave the same in a browser, in a desktop browser as they do on a mobile device.
Cool. And then, all right, any other questions? What other questions do you have about this particular issue?
I might actually steer you away from the built-in info windows. Like you think you might find yourself in the same situation as you did with the pins, where it's like, it's pretty limiting. You know, their info windows are they're pretty small and stuff. A modal would give you a lot more space to work with. Modals are a little tricky with accessibility, like focus trapping is a topic with modals, but if we get something working, we can always, like, if you don't necessarily go down the rabbit hole of trying to trap the focus, because that's a whole subject to itself. So we could break that off into its own thing later.
Yeah. Yeah, when I implemented this, I used a modal. And I used a library that has a modal that's accessible. Already.
Hashtag pro tip right there.
Hashtag pro tip. Okay. Oh, this is a fun one. Okay, allow user to drag map to a new location and the pins also render. As a user, I want to drag the map to a new location so that I can view places for that location. So we have a map that's rendering and the map is able to render pins based on the map center. We've got it. So this is key functionality that provides an element of delight and discovery. Yes, we are complete with that. So you'll want to take a look at the events fired during various user interactions with the Google map. There's some events that fire when you're dragging a map, like when you start dragging and when you end dragging, that will be really helpful for you in terms of when you make those API calls to render new pins. So some of the risk in this story comes from the possibility of stacking up multiple calls to the API, which can lead to unpredictable behavior. So this is a good time to ensure that we're only ever making one API call at a time. So wait for any outstanding API call to return or time out before making the next call. So you can imagine a user dragging and then dragging again really quickly and dragging again really quickly. So acceptance criteria, the user is able to.
I'll just say one more thing about that. You can either wait for the API calls to return a timeout. You could also, if the user drags again, it's possible to cancel the previous call and make a new call. So there are a couple ways you could approach it. So I don't know which one's simpler, to be honest. So you could, again, that's like an opportunity to think about the user experience and like what would actually provide a better experience. Like if you were to drag and then drag again right away, would you expect that first set of pins or the second set of pins, right? Probably the second one, which would imply that you would cancel the first request, make a new request. So feel free to adjust the AC here if that feels like a better solution. So, or add that to, like, cancel the call instead of wait for the outstanding calls. I think that's a totally valid approach as well.
Yep. All right, what was I saying? Okay, so user is able to pan the map to a new location, and the map will render pins based on the new map center. And then you also want to make sure that, and I think that the way that you have the context set up right now, this will work in your favor. The table should stay in sync with the map center. So user drags, new pins, click on the list, that should reflect those new pins. Let's see, so what's excluded and included at this point in the project, we don't have the user's location yet. We're not concerned right now with the user sharing their location. So this story should only use the center of the map as it's set at any given time. Given a user viewing the map, when the user pans the map to a new location, then the app will display places centered on the new location. iOS and Android. Google Maps API is good about functioning consistently between desktop browsers and mobile browsers. So it should be sufficient to validate the story's behavior in Chrome or another desktop web browser. But once you have a preview URL, it is really easy to check it on your phone too. So it's nice to check that way. Questions about this one? And then I think since we're running so far over, I might do just a little video, post a little video about maybe the next issue that might be possibly pulled in. How does that sound, Andrew?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. And then pairs this week are Katya and Jessica are pairing this week, and Alejandro and Megan are pairing this week. So who would like the dragging a map?
I don't know. Me? Megan, I know.
Does that sound good? All right, I'll let you assign yourselves to this issue. So Alejandro and Megan are doing drag. And then Katya and Jessica, you will focus on the window displaying information when you're clicking on a pin. How's that sound, Katya? Sound good? Okay. Awesome. I selected that for development. All right, and then I'll make a little video to post about the next issue, because I think it's in the next epic even. So I'll talk a little bit about that epic, and then maybe about the next issue.
Thanks for that. That's great.
Sure.
Great job, everybody. Amazing work. Again, like, we're a team working on stuff. Everyone's doing great. No one's done anything wrong. Like this is how, and I'm totally frozen. Anyway, this is how teams go. This is how projects go. And it's, there are ways we can get better at stuff, and you're doing so many things great already. So super impressed with all of your work. And yeah, when questions come up, please ask us. Just know that like, I am going to be completely unavailable from Wednesday through Sunday. So I'm going to be out in the middle of nowhere for a sort of a destination wedding, I guess is what they're called. Anyway, and Lauren, I know you're off from Zapier, but
yes. So I'm on vacation as well. this coming week. Supposedly this place has Wi-Fi, but it's like way in northern Minnesota, so we will see. We shall see how great my Wi-Fi is, but
yeah,
they say there's Wi-Fi.
This could be, I mean, if we're both unavailable and you all are like ready to merge and you all have talked about it as a team and you're confident in your work, I don't know, it's your app, like own it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Don't feel like you have to get us to weigh in if you, but just make sure you all, like all four of you agree that like, okay, yeah, this is ready to go. And then I'm cool with that.
Yep.
Nice. All right, cool. Thank you for hanging in there for an extra half an hour. Sorry about that, but we'll try to tighten that up next time.
I talked a lot during retro, I'm sorry.
Oh, no. It was, I mean, great demos and like lots of great discussion in the retro. So all really good stuff. But yeah, anyway, thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day, and your good evening, Katya, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Bye-bye.
See you later.